Today, we are diving into one of the most powerful books ever written on just getting along with people. Dale Carnegie's legendary How to Win Friends and Influence People.
And here's the kind of crazy part. This book was written over 84 years ago. I mean, think about that. That's before we had common household TVs, way before the internet, definitely before smartphones. The world has totally changed.
And yet, it's still a massive global bestseller. So what's the secret? How can these ideas about human nature from a completely different time still be so spot on today? Well, that's what we're going to break down. The first, and honestly, the most important shift in thinking that Carnegie talks about is this. If you want to influence anyone, you have to stop thinking about yourself. It's a simple idea, but it's the bedrock for everything else. Carnegie uses this brilliant analogy. Let's say you absolutely love cheesecake. But when you go fishing, you don't bait the hook with a slice of cheesecake, do you? Of course not. You use what the fish wants, a worm. And this just perfectly nails his point. So often, we try to bait people with what we want, instead of really focusing on what they actually care about. So here's the bottom line. Everybody is most interested in their own stuff, their own wants, their own problems. If you can tap into that, if you can frame your ideas in a way that helps them, you've got a huge advantage.
You know, think about the friendliest creature you can imagine. For a lot of us, it's a dog. And why is that? Because a dog is just genuinely, completely excited to see you. They make it seem like you're the most important thing in their world. And there's a huge lesson there. People are fundamentally interested in themselves. I mean, when you see a group photo, whose face do you look for first? Yours, right? By showing real, genuine interest in other people, you make them feel important. You'll make way more friends that way than you ever could by trying to get them interested in you.
Okay, so that's the big idea. But how do you actually put it into practice? Let's get into some super simple but really powerful daily habits that can totally change how you interact with people.
This right here is one of the most famous takeaways from the book, and for a really good reason. A person's name is their identity. It's them. Forgetting it or spelling it wrong, it kind of suggests you don't care enough to get it right. But remembering and using it, that's a whole different ballgame.
Just look at the difference here. On one side, you have, "Hi, how are you today?" which is fine. But just by adding a name, "Hi, Thomas," it becomes personal. It shows you see them as an individual. It's such a subtle compliment, but it builds a connection right away. And you can never, ever underestimate the power of a simple, genuine smile. It sends an instant message that says, "Hey, I like you, I'm glad to see you." The book tells us a great story about a super grouchy stockbroker who basically changed his whole life just by deciding to smile more. People started smiling back, work got easier, he became a richer and happier guy. A smile costs nothing, but it says so much.
Okay, this part is crucial. We are not talking about phony flattery. People can spot that a mile away. Sincere appreciation means actually taking a second to focus on the good things about the person you're with. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that every person he met was his superior in some way. If you can adopt that mindset, you'll always find something to genuinely appreciate, and that feeds that deep human need we all have for recognition.
All right, so being friendly and smiling, that's one thing. But what happens when you actually, disagree with someone? This is where these ideas really get interesting.
Now, this feels totally backwards, doesn't it? Our first instinct is to dig in, to prove we're right. But Carnegie says you can't actually win an argument. Just think it through. If you lose, well, you lost. But if you win, you've basically made the other person feel bad, you've hurt their pride, and now they resent you for it. So you might have won the point, but you've lost the person. 9 times out of 10, an argument just makes each person more convinced they were right in the first place.
So what do you do instead? Carnegie tells this great story about walking his little dog Rex without a leash where it was illegal. A police officer catches him, lets him off with a warning. The next time he sees the same officer, before the cop can even say a word, Carnegie just jumps in and says, "Officer, you've caught me. I'm guilty. I have no excuses." And the officer's entire tone changed. Instead of scolding him, he started defending him, saying a little dog like that isn't a big deal. By admitting you're wrong, fast and with feeling, you totally disarm the other person.
And that leads us right into our final set of ideas. How do you actually persuade someone? How do you change their mind without making them an enemy?
Let's look at a really high-stakes example. Famous test pilot Bob Hoover is flying, and both his engines cut out. He manages to land. It turns out the mechanic had accidentally filled his propeller plane with jet fuel, which completely destroyed the engines. So picture the scene. The mechanic is just devastated.
You've just lost a very expensive airplane and almost lost your life. Your first instinct might be to scream, right? To blame him. What would you have done? Hoover did the exact opposite. He walked over, put his arm around the young man, and said that to show he was confident he'd learned his lesson, he wanted that same mechanic to get his plane ready for his flight the next day. I mean, just an incredible act of leadership.
And that story just perfectly illustrates one of Carnegie's core principles. Anyone can criticize, but all it does is hurt someone's pride, make them defensive, and it almost never creates any lasting change. It takes real character to try and understand and to forgive.
So, look at this number, $133,000. What do you think that represents? It's big, it's specific, it kind of grabs your attention, doesn't it? This is all about the principle of dramatizing your ideas. An intern giving a presentation didn't just list his boring tasks, he opened by announcing his internship had saved the company $133,000. All of a sudden, every single manager was paying attention. He made the truth vivid. It's like when Steve Jobs introduced the iPod. He didn't say 5 gigabytes of storage, he said 1,000 songs in your pocket.
And finally, instead of giving direct orders, just ask questions. Things like, what do you think of this? Or can we brainstorm some different ways to handle this? This approach respects the other person. It makes them feel like the idea is partly theirs, and you almost always get more creativity than you would from just telling someone what to do.
So look, these principles, they all seem pretty simple on the surface, but actually applying them, that takes real effort. The real question isn't just about knowing this stuff, it's about using it. So think about it. What is the one conversation, the one interaction that you're going to handle differently tomorrow because of what you've heard today?